Members and speakers, fellow speakers, members. This is an F5, which is using your voice effectively, and it's quite pertinent or quite useful really that today we're in a room with good acoustics on the day that this person wants to do his F5 and shows how to use a voice correctly. And he is quite correct, the acoustics are very good in here when you talk loud. And they do lend themselves to talking about the military, which is his choice of subject, not knowing that he's going to have an ideal venue to tell it in. The opening was good. He said, "Our voice has got power," so he decided to use the army to illustrate how use of voice is used in the real world, in a critical environment, and giving commands. He explained the aim of the speech was to show how the army drill is actually good use of voice, using all the various concepts and aspects that we use in use of voice in giving speeches. And he said the army operates by doing commands using a sort of hierarchy, and as an example he said the first you split it into 3 sections, which is always a good idea, split things into 3, and then it's the beginning of it was what to do, and he said move to the right, and he didn't use the voice in the way that the sergeant would use it, to show how use of voice grabs everyone's attention. And everyone was sitting and watching, because I was there and I could see everybody. Oh. And then he said the second part is, how do you do the action that you've just been told? How do you move to the right? Quick! He said quick! And he was using his arms to enhance it. And then the overall command was quick march! So again he used his hands. And he started to think, he's been in the army, this guy. He's like a sergeant major giving the orders, and that's how all these soldiers listen. And they don't just wander off. They can't ignore the sergeant or the sergeant major or whoever it is who does that sort of thing in the army. I've never been in the army. You can't ignore the person giving the order if they use pitch, pause and pace and project their voice. I also mentioned that in the real world, and when we're doing speeches here, depending on where you're speaking, this has got good acoustics, but you could be standing on a stage outside and your microphone could break down. You say it demonstrates how you could speak in a wide open, windswept square. Wide open, windswept square. That's a bit of it wasn't when the speakers did, but it is when I do it. So again, you can imagine, oh yeah, you might have to do a speech in the open. If you're on a protest march and you want to shout out about protesting, you want people to hear you, so project your voice. This is all about projecting your voice. So again, the speaker kept our attention. And he made use of this room's acoustics, which are much better than we're used to in Blunstone itself. The voice also demonstrates authority, he mentioned. So he looked into this use of voice. Demonstrates authority. But he didn't just say demonstrates authority, he said it demonstrates authority. And again, he used his voice to explain it. Because this is about using the voice for speech. He analysed the workings of it, how you can lose people's attention by doing, he said, a deliberate voice. Slow like that. It's monotonous. So don't do it like that. Do it like this, and they explain how to do it. So the whole speech was about how to use a voice. And he gave lots of examples. He also did lots of arm movements. The only learning point really was that there was a little bit too much of the arm movements. And he explained it. It was a bit like looking in the mirror, because I did that all the time. But you got to have a learning point. But that's just one thing. But otherwise, it had good stance. He stood there, looking confident, and he addressed the audience in a good way. So I should put him out of his misery. He's passed the assignment, and will now get certificates for passing his F5. So we'll have to write off and get it. I need to speak to you about that. To wind up, he finalised by saying, actually this felt like we were obeying orders when he told us, I'm going to finish now. I thought, okay, do what you like, you know, you're the boss. Then he ended up by saying, you need to energise the audience in the room. And I felt he did energise the audience in the room, and it was a good speech. Well done.